I had a very indulgent mother who'd grown up with four brothers who were into cars and motorcycles and later airplanes. I was always mechanically inclined and got into cars when I was around 10, I guess, through building model kits. So there wasn't a pivotal moment as such, but I had a very indulgent mother who'd grown up with four brothers who were into cars and motorcycles and later airplanes. So she kind of got the whole thing about teenage boys and cars and let me use the garage to build hot rods when I was a teenager. When I was about 20, I got into sports cars and bought a 10-year-old MGA.
And that you raced?
Yeah, I started racing in the 70s, first with a TVR. 1979, started racing in an F production MG Midget and SCCA, and I raced that for 35 years. And then more recently got into vintage racing with a Lotus 11. Vintage racing was something I had put off for a long time.
Right, but we saw you were hanging around at vintage racing events for a long time, so it was inevitable.
Well, I always loved the cars.
Right. You brought this beautiful DB4. Tell us a story, like how long you have it.
I've known the car since 1985. A very close friend of mine bought it from the second owner in 85, and at that point it was a totally original 21,000 mile car. I remember driving it then. In 89, he had paint, chrome, and interior done, and that's really all it's ever needed is a cosmetic restoration. Ralph used to come to New York once a year on business, and we were sitting in Harry's bar, of course, talking about cars. And after a few drinks, I happened to mention to him that if he ever wanted to sell the Aston, to make sure I was his first call. In October of that year, he called me and we struck a deal, and I've had it since 1996, almost 25 years.
That's a long stretch. You took the car to Europe.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
In 2013, my girlfriend and I went to England for the Aston Martin Centenary, and I'd always wanted to drive the car in Europe. So I said, well, let's ship the car over. So after a week of festivities for the centenary, we jumped in the car and spent a couple weeks driving through Wales and Ireland. Had a great trip. And then we went back in October. Jane has relatives in Switzerland she wanted to go back to see, and I said, well, the car's there. Spent a couple weeks driving from London through Switzerland. It was just a great, great trip, and these cars are just such wonderful touring cars, even today.
How long did the car spend in Europe altogether?
I was there a few months, and for 4 weeks of that, and over 3,000 miles was on trips.
And now you are also pretty involved with the Aston Martin Owners Club. We'll see you on a lot of events, and you'll be active. In terms of the community, I'm sure back in the days when you hot-rodded cars, there were like hot-rodding groups of people who know each other. What is it? What's the special thing which brings the car people together?
The cars are the commonality that brings people together. I belong to the Aston Martin Owners Club since I bought the car. A former president of the club explained, he used to use the phrase that he came for the cars and stayed for the people. I belonged to a lot of car clubs over the years. The Aston Club is very special. I'm not quite sure what it is. Maybe it's because the cars come from a smaller manufacturer with a great history. But I've met some really wonderful people through the club.
So now you showed up on our call here today, which is very nice. We try to figure out something which we can do. A lot of people going through hard times, and a lot of people need support, and car enthusiasts have a habit of generously giving their time, often money, to good causes. And you were kind enough to follow our call here today. What do you think, is there something we could do more as a community?
It's a difficult question. Maybe have more events that are geared toward different charities, for instance, such as what you're doing with this. So I think things like road tours, anything to bring people together and have fun with the cars, could generate some money for various charities.
Do you think there could be more? Maybe we could also do to like kind of engage younger people. I mean, I know that like a lot of people who own the older cars like hold on for them for a long time, and the talent to restore them, and it's kind of like not there in the numbers it should be. At the same time, you have young people who are starting out in a very uncertain world and don't have like. Is there maybe a way to, I don't know, engage people or get them on the path, or like get them even in the profession of restoring? Or
And it's a problem with our society. Everyone's been brought up to go to college so they can sit in a cubicle in front of a computer screen, even if they're making less money than they could actually creating something.
do you think that might be a worthwhile thing for car people to like point out and bring awareness to?
Sure, something needs to change.
It's a good community with a lot of good people who have like all good intention. You know, we live in a world where there are like a lot of controversy and people are on the opposite side of the fence and kind of like bickering with each other. And maybe that's a way to like, you know, bring, you know, people together and unify with and get some new ideas out, you know. So that's why we're doing this here today, and hopefully we're going to like do more of that.
It's a big community of people who have a commonality.